Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us from all around the world. Welcome to the 8th edition of the Young Aurora Award. This is the celebration of courage, compassion, and the power of young changemakers. Whether you're tuning in from Europe, from Africa, the Americas, Asia, or beyond, we're thrilled to have you here with us today for this very special occasion. My name is Faith Abiodun. I serve as the Executive Director at UWC International, and today it is my immense honor to be your moderator for this program. Together, we will witness inspiring stories of young leaders who remind us that no action is too small to make a difference. Young Aurora is more than an award. It is a movement that challenges us to act, to lead with empathy, and to believe in the ripple effect of even the smallest steps toward change. Before we begin, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone who has made this event possible today. And a special welcome to Sally Lynch, who is Development Director of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative. And Sally, your dedication behind the scenes has been really instrumental in bringing this project to life. I'd also like to warmly acknowledge the members of our final selection jury who have the very difficult and yet inspiring task of choosing today's winner. Thank you for your time, your wisdom, and your commitment to recognizing young humanitarian leaders. I'll briefly mention you, and I hope you might be able to wave. Basma Alawi, Deputy Executive Director at Community Sponsorship Hub. Colin Thomas Jensen, Director of Communications, Advocacy and Impact at Aurora Humanitarian Initiative. Marina Wutholin, Executive Producer, Filming Director, and Journalist, as well as founder of the Young Activist Summit. And Anika Yang, who was a 2024 Young Aurora Prize winner from UWC Changshu, China. It's great to see you coming back. To all of our incredible finalists, your passion and your courage are exactly why we're all here today. So regardless of the outcome, I hope you know that you've already made such an extraordinary impact, and we can't wait to see all the things that you're going to do going forward. All right, now let's dive into the program for today. We're filled with joy, inspiration, and hope, and we believe that together we can build a brighter future. Quick logistical notes. We have viewers joining us not just here on Zoom, but as well on Facebook and YouTube. We'd like to extend a very warm welcome to you across all of our platforms. This event is as much yours as it is ours, so please don't just watch. We invite you to be a part of the conversation wherever you are. Please drop some questions, some words of encouragement, some good wishes for all of our finalists in the comment section wherever you are. Tell us exactly where in the world you're tuning in from. Tell us what social change means to you. We're going to be keeping our eyes out for all your messages. And so please share your thoughts and please share on this inspiring young leaders. Okay, over the next hour, we have a very inspiring program lined up for you. First and foremost, we're going to hear from the incredible 3 finalist teams for this year's Young Aurora Award. Each of them has already made a remarkable impact in their communities. And so please get ready to be moved by their vision and by their courage. And then while our distinguished jury is deliberating on this year's winners, we're going to shift into a dynamic panel conversation featuring 4 brilliant minds, people who are thinkers, change makers, advocates, shaping a better future already today. So please stay tuned to meet them. And finally, the moment we'll be waiting for, the jury is going to return. They're going to announce the winner of the 2025 Young Aurora Award. So get ready for an hour of inspiration, of insight, and impact. Let's dive in. We're going to begin with a quick video that truly captures the spirit of this moment. I invite you to watch this short video that tells you what Young Aurora is all about, what it stands for, and why it matters.
for supporting us in making our ideas and passion a reality.
And thank you so much to the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative to give us this opportunity to be change makers in real life in our communities.
Thank you for inspiring us to become humanitarians.
Thank you for making us humanitarians.
Thank you for inspiring us to become humanitarians.
Thank you, Young Aurora, for making all of that happen.
Now it is my pleasure to invite someone whose dedication and hard work has been really vital in bringing Young Aurora to life. Please join me in welcoming Sally Lynch, Development Director of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative. Sally, stage is yours.
Thank you, Faith. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Youth as Changemakers, Driving Social Change. I'm Sally Lynch, Development Director of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative, which since 2015 has been identifying, supporting, and amplifying the work of grassroots humanitarian leaders the world over. On behalf of all of us at Aurora, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this special event in the Aurora Dialogue Series, a gathering of minds and spirits around important humanitarian topics. And today, a celebration of the ingenuity of the young minds who have submitted projects this cycle of Young Aurora. We're very proud to partner in this initiative with UWC International, African Leadership Academy, and Teach for All. Thank you especially to our partners, UWC, for all their efforts over the years to inspire and motivate student teams toward humanitarian action in their communities. For 10 years and running, Aurora's purpose has been to awaken humanity through the courage, commitment, and impact of our humanitarian luminaries. Throughout our work, we emphasize the concept of gratitude in action, that those who have suffered from or witnessed tragedy are more likely to assist others. Over the last decade, we've supported over 460 projects across 60 countries, benefiting more than 3.4 million people. Through Young Aurora, we aim to inspire the next generation toward humanitarian action and to support the winning team each cycle with a grant to carry their project forward. We're so grateful to have Faith with us today as a moderator and to have our esteemed panel of judges. Most importantly, congratulations and welcome to our 3 finalist teams in this cycle of Young Aurora. The projects we will hear about today tackle issues ranging from addressing the social-emotional well-being of migrant children in Italy, to improving living conditions in rural Armenian homes through energy efficiencies, to reducing air pollution and improving health outcomes in India. This cycle, we've been truly awed by the caliber of projects submitted by all the participating teams, and I want to take a moment to wish good luck to the teams presenting today. You've already done such a wonderful job pulling your projects together, and we're excited to hear more about them. Young Aurora is by design an opportunity for students to learn and take action, but it's also an opportunity for us to learn from these students. So we encourage you to share your questions and thoughts in the chat during the presentation and the Q&A. Whether you're already a member of the Aurora community or if you're joining us for the first time today, we hope you'll be inspired by this session to become more involved and that you'll also be inspired toward gratitude in action. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sally, and great to be in partnership, doing something really, really important for the world. All right, before we proceed further, I'm honored to invite some very special guests who will share some welcome remarks. These dedicated individuals have carefully reviewed all the applications. They've undertaken the challenging task of selecting our 3 outstanding finalists from many other projects. One person will represent them. We're very fortunate to have Vasily Badadimov, who is the CEO of the UW's National Committee Charity Foundation and CEO of Skolimundi Armenia, from the pre-selection jury, with us to share a few words. Vasily, over to you.
Thank you, Faith. I'm really honored to be here. And let me start, I guess, as a psychologist, I do believe that the evolutionary focus of human nature is on fear, intended to protect us from a danger, but that has an unfortunate consequence. We tend to remember those who create distractions more than those who actually do good. I'm grateful to the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative for challenging this paradigm and shifting the mindset of thousands, actually. The idea of transforming the world for the better aligns with the DNA of UWC and all UWC students. Therefore, I'm delighted to be a part of pre-selection committee process for all 8 years of Young Aurora. Here we have only 3 teams that have demonstrated exceptional ability to analyze the process, to process the concerns and issues surrounding them, and develop solutions that can benefit others. I want to use this rephrased, well-known Bible quote to congratulate everyone who participated in Young Aurora. And please remember, everybody who is here, that those who change one life change the world. I wish everyone the best of luck, and regardless of outcomes, let's continue to make positive impact on the world around us. Good luck, everybody, and good luck, finalists. Hope that you will change this world for better.
Thank you so much, Vasily. And thank you so much to all of our pre-selection jury members. We're really grateful for your work. Let's now move to the presentation of the CS3 finalist projects for the Young Aurora Award. The pre-selection jury has chosen the projects from UWC Adriatic in Italy, UWC Dilijan in Armenia, and UWC Mahindra College in India. And it is from these 3 teams that we will hear now. Here's the format. Each of the 3 presentations will follow the exact same order. We're going to watch a short video presenting the project. We'll then hear from the student teams with any information they would like to add, and then members of the jury will be invited to ask each team 1 or 2 questions for any additional information that they would like to share. We're going to begin with UWC Adriatic. So for the first presentation, we'll hear about the Dandelion Project. This project addresses the emotional and social needs of migrant children in elementary schools by providing tools for adaptation and integration. Let's look at the video and hear exactly how UWC Adriatic plans to do this. Let's play the video.
We are here watching, scrolling, moving through a world that never stops. Every day, we pass by 1,000 untold stories. Some are loud, some are silent.
And some are invisible.
What does it mean to belong?
Is it a language? A passport? A school desk with your name on it? Or is it something deeper?
The place they left?
And the place they are told to fit into.
I need you to imagine a world where no one understands you. Not your teacher, not your classmates, not even the walls around you.
3,000 migrant children struggle with identity and belonging in Trieste. 2,316 unaccompanied minors arrived in Trieste last year.
The city officially recognized less than half.
But these are not just numbers. These are lives. These are stories, and they should never be reduced to statistics.
This is why we created Dandelion, to turn numbers back into names
and statistics back into voices.
Dandelion is more than a program. It aims to provide children with tools for adaptation and integration, focusing on the emotional and social needs of migrant children.
Our program consists of a series of picture books and face-to-face workshops, and the books will be both printed and presented online, and they will be designed by students but also by professionals in the developmental psychological field.
Empowering the children to explore key concepts and develop a positive mindset independently helps them build confidence in a new environment, embrace their identity, and foster a sense of belonging.
The project will be launched initially in Trieste, Italy, which is only 21 kilometers away from where our college is based. This city is considered a principal frontier of migration, where, according to the International Rescue Committee, around 3,000 migrant children each year face challenges with a sense of belonging and identity.
Children need connection to build up identity and values, but when they move to another country, they tend to hide it because of the peer pressure. And this drives them to anxiety and depression. And this is really alarming. That's why with Dandelion, we want to make a change.
We are not just listening to a story.
We are not just writing a story.
We are making sure that all stories have their own voice.
Because we are sure that every kid deserves to find their sense of belonging.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Milka from Mexico. I'm Mariana from Portugal. Yuhan from China. And I'm Rawan from Morocco. And we believe that all migrant children deserve to find their sense of belonging. And this is possible through Dandelion. We support children through a series of picture books in local languages: Pashto, Bengali, Arabic, and Italian, and face-to-face workshops.
Step by step, we create change. So how will this be structured? On the first 3 months, we will focus on the local stage of the project. So basically collaborating with local organizations and schools like Penny Wirten and Luca D'Aosta in Montfalcone. Then on the next 3 months, we'll move on to the national phase. So basically we'll collaborate with national organizations like the UNCHR in Italy and the Refugee Welcome Network organization. And then on the final 3 months, we'll move on to the international stage where we'll take these projects back to our home countries, Morocco, Mexico, Portugal, and China, and collaborate with organizations within these countries.
We'll measure success through impact, not just numbers. We'll conduct interviews with children, and if they leave with their heads higher, their voices stronger, and their identities embraced, that's the real success for us. In addition, we'll use psychological assessment, Children Depression Inventory, CDI, and the Screen for Child Anxiety-Related Disorder, SCREEN. Children, parents, and teachers will be asked to complete this assessment to measure the starting points. These tools are available in multiple languages and only require a second-grade reading level, ensuring accessibility to all our participants. After 3 months, they will ask to complete the assessment again, and we will track possible changes, especially looking for reduction in anxiety and depression. Also for improvements in their overall sense of belonging and safety. In sum, with the interview and the assessments, both qualitative and quantitative data will provide a complete picture of the program's impact. In the first year, we'll reach about 715 kids through physical copies and about 500 through online platforms. By reusing the books, the impact and number will be even greater. Funding will also play a really important role. So the Aurora Prize will cover the cost of workshops, of printing, marketing, outreach, but also fieldwork.
So what will happen without Young Aurora's funding? So basically our project is designed to, yes, be the most effective it can be with this funding, but it's also designed to be sustainable even without it. So without it, we'll be restrained mostly to the local stage of the project and will be more dependent on other stakeholders, so mostly local organizations and obviously the work and time of volunteers. When it comes to the actual books, we'll focus more on the digital versions because obviously the printed ones have a lot of additional costs. But for the fewer printed versions that we'll produce, we will work on recycled paper, which was already a decision, but also thinner paper and smaller scale sizes so that the prices can be lower.
But in both cases, Dandelion is sustainable because the books will be used over generations. Also, we will help peer support storytelling, where older children will mentor younger children. We will not only rely on our internal efforts, but also on external organizations and NGOs. And we will partner with local volunteers and international volunteers in universities and high schools so they can help the workshops independently. And we will collaborate with local publishers and digital platforms such as BookDash so that we can have a greater impact. In order for it to be sustainable and continue when we graduate, it will also remain as an activity in UWC Adriatic. Because Dandelion is more than a project. It is a promise that no child should feel lost or invisible, because we're making a change, but not only for our futures, but for our present, but also for our future generations. Because belonging is not a privilege, it is a human right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the fantastic presentation from UWC Adriatic. This is certainly a very important project, and you're drawing a spotlight to a very critical global situation. And by all trends, it's only likely to get worse, knowing that there are so many factors that are driving forced migration across the world. So thank you for helping to put a face and a voice to these numbers. I'd like to invite the jury to ask one or two questions, and we'll take the questions together, and then we'll give just a very, very quick moment for UWC Adriatic team to respond. So members of the jury, I'd like to invite you to share any questions at all for the team. You may raise your hands. Perhaps we'll take down the current screen that we've got, showing the slides from UWC Adriatic. And if you want to voice over your questions very quickly, let's take them, and then I'll go to the team to respond to them very quickly. Yes, Colin.
How these books are actually going to, what kind of stories they're going to tell, and how you plan to build up a library to support your ambition here, because it's really great. Thanks.
So we can respond to all of them in one go. Let me go to Marina, and then I'll come to Basma afterwards.
Very much for the presentation, and congratulations. It's really a great project. I wanted to know where the idea came from, if any of you had a specific experience with migration or difficulties of integration, something like that.
Yes, congratulations on such a great work. As a refugee myself, this is really close to my heart. I have two questions. The first one is, how are you engaging with migrants communities directly to inform your approach? And how are you building in feedback to loops and really to learn from the children and communities you are serving?
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Basma. And finally, let's get from Anika.
Basically, how do you ensure that, this book, the entire experience would be engaging for the different communities that you would be targeting?
Brilliant. So team UWC Adriatic, let's just recap. How are you developing the content? Where's the inspiration coming from? How do you engage with migrant communities and incorporate feedback? And how do you make sure that this is the right project going forward? All right, over to you.
Okay, for the first question, currently we are collaborating with a local psychologist and a local artist in picture books, and we have made some surveys, like from our social services. We have interact with children. Together, we have designed a series of different topics that will be addressed in each picture book. For example, the first version of it will be talking about that we are all human beings, regardless of where you come from or what is your culture, what do you eat. So these will include some drawings and also some text in the local languages and in the language of the host country, so that children can engage with it. And it will also contain some questions that were designed within our community and also with the help of the psychologist.
Yes, I think for the question about how we came up with this idea, I would say that for the four of us, the migration crisis and everything that's happening around this topic around the world has been a serious concern. And when we start coming up, when we were presented with Young Aurora and we're thinking about what topic was most important for us, this was quite an obvious choice. It's something that's also at the core of UWC Adriatic. We have a lot of services that are involving with the migrant communities here present, as is like a migration frontier, as also like the video mentioned. So it felt something that we were all very passionate about, and that we had a real opportunity to make impact, as we're also spending 2 years on a city that struggles so much with this type of issue.
Yeah, I would also like to add on that we also had a lot of inspiration from already existing initiatives. If you take the Global Digital Library and the Rwanda Children's Book Initiative, for example, they both focus on this exact humanitarian concern. And so they have trained local authors to write in native languages of the people that they were working with, and they were really ensuring that the books were accessible and that they were relevant to the context in which the children were growing up. So that is how we plan to use a similar model to really convey the message to these children and make it more engaging for them.
And I also want to add for the first question and also the second question, for the topics, Dandelion is a tool for them to adapt to a new environment. So we will also find topics like teaching them how to interact with your peers in the school, how to ask your teachers for help, and Dandelion is also holding your identity, holding your culture. We are going to teach them to be proud of your culture, to represent where you come from, like about what you eat. And about the second question, like this migration problem, like is also related to advocacy students. Also, although we are not actually the migrant children, but we also experience like the difficulties of integrating to different countries and maybe our future university study. So it is the topic we actually feel related to.
And I'm not quite sure if the last question was answered. I think a lot of what we said can also be applied to that. But the way we're ensuring that this is maybe the right path, or that we're addressing the issues that are really relevant to these children. So as we already mentioned, we partnered up and we talked with a lot of psychologists, including psychologists that are working with migrant children and that have experience in this field. And we also have been discussing a lot, even in the college, not only necessarily for this project, but in general as a community, as the college, we have been engaging a lot with local organizations that work with migrants, and we have been hearing a lot of their concerns. Also working with the social services directly with the migrants, we have been able to have this like one-on-one conversations where we can understand exactly what are the issues, what are their needs, and not just what we assume that their needs are. So I think at the end of the day, we were able to compile things that are really what this community needs and how to effectively address that.
Right, I'd like to say thank you so much to our team from UWC Adriatic, and congratulations on coming this far. Wish you all the best with the deliberations. Let's go quickly to our second presentation. This is from the team called Taktun, the Taktun project from UWC Diligent. The word Taktun derives from the Armenian words for warm and house. The project focuses on creating cost-efficient insulation solutions for rural Armenian homes. Let's watch the video now to learn a little bit more about the Taktun project.
In some parts of the world, winter is a long-awaited season, bringing snowfall, festive warmth, and Christmas celebrations. However, for some communities, winter is a struggle, the coldest and most challenging months of the year. This is true here in the Tavush region, where harsh temperatures make the season a struggle for many.
The insulation in rural Armenia is often insufficient, with only 6% of the housing stock being in good condition.
This is because the housing stock in Armenia are so old. Conventionally, our solutions for isolation like of fiberglass are so expensive.
This causes a lot of problems for the residents.
Ջեռուցման թույլ լինելու պատճառով ընտանիքում առաջանում են խնդիրներ, ծախսեր են շատանում, առողջական խնդիրներ, որ հիվանդանում են, դիմում են բժշկական օգնությունը ավելի ծանրաբեռնվում.
Armenia produces 6,000 tons of plastic waste per year, of which only 25% is recycled. This is our challenge. Are we able to combine these problems into an innovative solution?
We will create insulative mattresses using recycled materials such as plastic bottles rearranged in plastic sacks.
Then they will be secured to the areas of heat loss, and this will improve the insulation in the winter and also increase cooling in the summer.
Of course, we cannot insulate directly heavy house, but what we can do and what the project is aiming for is educate the community through workshops, the establishment of ambassadors, to put them in the first line to change their life, to insulate their home. So how we will know that we will succeed?
Our insulation has been proven to be a poor conductor and therefore an excellent insulator. This means the household quality of life will go up, while spending on heating will go down.
The amount of plastic wastes will be reduced.
And community leadership will be developed.
Our project promotes environmental sustainability through waste management,
Increasing affordability and access to insulation. Establish a network of community leaders to ensure continued sustainability.
And brings warmth and comfort to every home in Armenia.
Insulation for every home!
Thank you and hello everyone. As we join you in the comfort and the warmth of our school, many locals struggle to just maintain a livable temperature in their homes. The problem is not about the lack of heating in their homes, but it's about the heat that is lost to the environment. However, much of the locals cannot afford an expensive conventional insulation, and that is why we introduce you the Tacton project. Our project aims and proposed the idea of making insulation with plastic waste products, and by using these products, not only we can decrease the price of the insulation, we can also tackle the insulation, the lack of insulation problem, and also plastic waste problem. But Tacton is more than just a product. It's about empowerment. Our project aims to educate and facilitate the people so that they can have the skills and ability, and they have the opportunity to change their life.
Of course, we cannot insulate every home, but what we can do and what the project is aiming for is provide a community with the knowledge and skills necessary to insulate their homes. To this, we plan to undertake two cooperative approaches. The first one consisting in the educational session and workshop with the aim of not only teaching, but actually transmitting skills necessary and useful for the implementation of the project now and their personal life later. On the second hand, the other approach consists in the establishment of a network of ambassadors, which will work as a connection point between the Tacton project and the communities. The ambassadors, which will be identified and selected locally, will be responsible of supporting the communities, guarantee the connection with the project, keep connection with local businesses for the collection of recycled materials, but mostly guarantee the long-term sustainability of the project and the actual implementation of it. Tacton doesn't want to just sell a product or insulate directly every house. What we want to do is create an engagement which will benefit the population in the community now and in the future.
Currently, we are focused on building and testing our prototype in real-world conditions. As you can see in the picture, we recently finished insulating a guard booth. We tested our prototype by installing it from the inside. The insulation proved to be 13% more effective, being able to capture heat inside the home much better than without.
Moving forward, through our partnership with the Diljan Community Center, we have identified one home which we will be insulating in the next 2 months. Over the course of the next 12 months, we plan to insulate around 2 to 3 homes. However, to reiterate the long-term goal of the project, through the rollout of our ambassador network, this will become community-led, meaning community members themselves will begin insulating their homes.
We've been partnering with local community centers, alumni, and professionals, creating a strong network dedicated to make this installation more efficient and accessible. We have also been teaming up with restaurants and local businesses to set up collection points to gather more plastic bottles for our material.
Although even without the Young Aurora funding, we can still have an impact locally, we need your funding to increase the scale of our project, covering transport costs for facilitators so we can host more educational programs and workshops in as many communities in need as possible. Moreover, your funding can support us to increase the efficiency of our insulation, allowing us to purchase more advanced testing materials and apparatus so we can identify areas of improvement and thus increase the efficiency and durability of our mattresses. We need your funding to bring the Tacton project to as many communities in need as possible.
Tacton as an organization is sustained by the United World College of Diljan. It provides the human resources for it to continue, and the students of Diljan can organize and manage the operations of Tacton through the facilities and committees of the school. We plan to continue seeking out for investors who are interested in our idea and in our cause, such as local governments and local businesses. There are also several non-governmental organizations who are interested in the idea of reusing and recycling plastic products, and specifically plastic bottles, into something that is useful and helpful for the community, such as the Taktoon insulators.
With your help, our project can be a game changer. And with that, have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With the wonderful team from UWC Diligent. This is such a critical project, and I'm glad to see you have already a strong partnership ethos built into the work that you're doing. So again, congratulations on getting this far, and thank you very much. Let's go to the jury and welcome a couple of questions. We take all of them together, and then we'll give you a few minutes to respond to them. Perhaps if we take the screen down, I can see some of the hands from members of the jury. I'll start with Marina, and then I'll go to Basma.
Hi, thank you very much and congratulations. It looks like a really great project. I wanted to know if you made a survey among the community and see if people would use this kind of installation, if they would be able to install it in their homes. What would it look like? Because I saw the small cabin that you showed, but would people agree to have this kind of installation in their own homes? Because it would change a lot the look of their homes. Did you think about that, and did you ask people what they think about it?
Very much, Marina. Let's go to Basma.
Yeah, I think I will continue where Marina started. It's really more about the community engagement. So it's like a couple of the questions I have about the community engagement. How are you engaging community in shaping and testing this specific solution? What has been most really memorable moment in your conversation with the residents? And have you received any resistance? And if so, how you are responding to it? But such a beautiful project. Thank you for your innovation.
Fantastic. Thank you, Basma. Colin?
Hi. Echoing my fellow panelists, thanks. That was really wonderful. My question is about what kind of if you have a plan for kind of follow-up and continuous engagement with the recipients of this installation, just to keep an eye on how it continues to work over time and learn from that going forward. Thank you.
Fantastic. Annika?
I don't know if it's like accurate, but probably there are certain cons to such as the flammability of plastic. I don't know if it's toxic or if it degrades. Like, what would you do if such situations happen after you implement it?
Fantastic. Thank you very much to our wonderful panelists. Let me just recap for you, Team Taktoon. Basically, how's your community engagement worked? You know, if you surveyed the community members before you began, and how you plan to continue to do that. And then also, how are you going to monitor these communities over time? Once you get these things going, have you had any resistance so far, etc.? And what's been your risk management process? So let's go for it.
Talking about the survey, one of our members happens to be an Armenian speaker, and with that, with the member, we had went out and done a few Q&As with the people in the community, and we had found out that people more relied on more firewoods and stuff like more firewoods to keep their houses warm. And since their houses was not like insulated, since the houses were not insulated, they had to use more firewoods and they had a high bill cost, and yeah.
We also engage with the community in many ways. We have recently had a presentation with many students coming to the school. We recently started working with the Diligent community centers about a question of a moment which I remember. Me and Kabia, around 2 weeks ago, we went to Diligent community center to locate a bin. And I remember the kids running to us to take the bin and help us, helping us to set the bins, to give us materials and so on. Still going with engagement, we actually started working with the NGOs. For example, we started contacting Macur, and we didn't really add any resistance. Most of all the resistance is coming from not a complete knowledge about the topic. That's why Taktoon will be important also in the educational part.
Just to reiterate with like the community engagement part and how over time we will continue to monitor the progress and efficiency of our project. So an important key part of our project is the ambassador network. So through that, we as facilitators, UWC Dilijan, we will establish this network through organizations such as the Dilijan Community Center, which we've already begun which we will soon begin implementing houses through. So with those sorts of organizations, we've established a point of connection between us as facilitators and houses within the local community. So that will allow us to monitor progress of how our installation is going within those communities. So we can host educational programs and workshops through community centers, schools, and other organizations. So we will have a continuous feedback loop with how the community members are responding and any additional feedback or changes and improvement that we can make. And of course, we are continually improving our project and increasing the efficiency of installation as we go. So we're not going to stop at one point. So over the entire course of our project, we will continue that monitoring, and this ambassador network also increases the continuity of our project, which makes sure that even when we as students graduate, that we are still able to monitor that progress and make sure that we are impacting local communities.
And I would also like to underline the importance of the engagement, especially of young people. For example, a few days ago, some people started reaching us out to ask where they can put the plastic bottles. We started collecting in Dilijan, but at the same time, when we presented the project the last week with the local restaurants in Dilijan, which contacted us and really helped us a lot, going also over what we asked them for to collect the plastic bottles and other materials and to give it to us.
Talking about the risk factor, a plastic takes more than 50 years to degrade. And about the risk factor of it being degraded, when we install the plastic inside an installation, we have a process of making sure that the plastic has no food inside, has nothing inside that degrades them. And we'll make sure that the plastic bottles that's going inside the installation is all clean and disinfected.
In addition to that as well, we know that after we clean the bottles and everything, we will make sure that the bottle is really sealed and closed inside the new wall, and therefore the degradation of the plastic can be prolonged and even be monitored easily by us as well. So yes.
And
all right, I'd like to thank you all. You have one last few seconds. Let's go 10 seconds and we have to wrap it up.
Quickly, I just wanted to add on some of the resistance that we've experienced. One of the initial concerns that we did have as non-Armenians was what the building codes and property rights were, or any compliance concerns that we could have in implementing installation in the local community. So once we encountered that problem, we reached out to a local engineer as well as a lawyer to just go over some of those rights. So after doing that, now we know that as long as the installation is implemented on a homeowner's property, there are no issues in terms of compliance. So that's one of the issues that we've encountered and how we overcame it.
Thank you very much. Congratulations once again to the team at the Taktum project, and wishing you all the best with the next phase of your work. Our third presentation today is from UWC Mahindra College in India. This is the Chulha project. The Chulha project tackles the harmful effects of traditional mud cook stoves, otherwise known as chulhas, and this produces toxic smoke that is linked to serious health risks and contributes towards deforestation through excessive firewood consumption. Let's now watch the video from the Chulha project at UWC Mahindra.
For thousands of years, fire has meant survival, warmth, protection, life itself. But what if the flame that feeds you is killing you? This primitive mud cook stove, the chula, has become one of the deadliest killers in rural India, claiming 4 million premature deaths each year. The World Health Organization states cooking with chulas is equivalent to burning 400 cigarettes inside your home every year.
We didn't discover this crisis from reading reports, we lived it. When we went to the local village of Kubavali, we witnessed firsthand the widespread prevalence of this traditional cooking practice.
डोळ्यातून पाणी येतं आणि खोकला येतो आणि घरात सगळ्यांनाच असं होतं का आणि मग तुम्हाला मग फक्त सवय झाली आहे सवय झाली म्हणाला बरोबर अच्छा आणि तुम्ही कधी ऐकलंय का कोणाला म्हणजे त्रास झालाय की खूप खोकला येतोय त्याच्यामुळे त्यांनी तुला म्हणजे वापरणच थांबवून दिलं हा म्हणजे ज्याला दाम्याचा अस्थमाचा त्रास आहे असे लोक नाही शक्यतो जात चुली पुढे
After studying dozens of alternative cook stoves, we focus on adapting this rocket stove technology, specifically the J-shaped combustion chamber, for the cooking practices of rural Maharashtra.
This design creates a tornado-like flame that burns at over 1,000 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, the smoke particles themselves combust, which vastly reduce the deadly emissions that kill millions.
This solution spares family from having to get 1,500 kilograms of wood per year. It can also spare the atmosphere from 2.5 tons of carbon. But the real important part of the solution is that it spares family from having to have tears in their eyes and dangerous fumes entering their lungs anytime they want to cook a proper meal while still preserving their traditional cooking practices.
We plan to start this initiative with 30 committed households in the local village of Khubawali. Through outreach and workshops in the language of Marathi, we plan to encourage the villagers to recognize the benefits of rocket stoves and adapt them into their local families.
Each J rocket stove costs approximately 1,500 rupees to make. This isn't merely a product, it's a mindful intervention.
The Young Aurora grant will represent the catalyst that will begin this transformation. This is not just stove distributing. This is an entire ecosystem that involves manufacturing, training, adoption, and assessment.
Over its minimum 10-year lifespan, each rocket stove saves families up to 10,000 rupees annually in reduced wood consumption and medical expenses. This return on investment begins immediately and compounds generationally.
Right now, the Chula project exists only as a concept.
But with your support, we can turn this fully fledged idea into reality.
Join us in creating a healthier and more sustainable future.
Good evening, everyone. We are the Shula Project, and our aim is to ensure that no family in rural India ever needs to suffer from the simple act of cooking food again.
So why does it matter to us? Air pollution is one of the biggest problems in India, which causes more deaths than tobacco smoking or poor nutrition. And more than 140 million households in rural India use a chula, which is a traditional mud cook stove that uses a lot of solid fuels to lit up. And 1 million people die every year due to pollution due to solid fuels, and the most affected are women and children.
To solve this, we've designed a J-shaped rocket stove, and its unique shape creates a natural draft that pulls air to the bottom and forces flame to travel upward through the curved chamber where the complete combustion can take place. This design directs the concentrated heat to the cooking surface while reducing harmful emissions, cutting PM 2.5 by 74% and carbon monoxide by 87%. The result, cleaner air, less firewood needed, and improved health outcomes. These are the designs that we are envisioning for our project. Now talking about why existing solutions are failing, despite having massive government programs that have achieved 85% national LPG coverage, only 27% of rural households actually use it as their primary cooking fuel. Why? Because an $11 gas refill, it consumes nearly 1/6 of a rural family's monthly income, whereas the firewood costs nothing. Also, families have to travel 5 kilometers in order to refill these gas cylinders, and 75% only own one cylinder. Other alternatives are also insufficient, as electric stoves have been tried in the past, but due to regular blackouts, less than 1% of rural households rely on them. Our rocket stove succeeds precisely where others are lacking.
So one of the biggest problems that we might face is even convincing people to switch to rocket stoves after ages of generationally using chulas. The solution is running educational campaigns and programs, particularly in Marathi, explaining the detriments and problems related with using chulas and our solution. How will we expand? First, letting local households try and testify for our solution, and then using word of mouth to expand to nearby villages. And how will we involve the local community in the future? Simply by giving an opportunity to the biggest stakeholder, that is the women of the villages.
So the way which we would use to incorporate the Aurora grant money would primarily be to stove production in raw material costs and welding costs, and transporting these stoves to the villages. We would still succeed in doing this without the grant. We would just have time lag and a much smaller scale due to lack of funding that we cannot use in producing and transporting these stoves. So we would result in a much smaller and, as a result, less effective system to fix this issue.
Now moving on to the impact and sustainability of our project. Our project aims to impact nearby villages in the Mulchi Valley by providing them with efficient, sustainable, and cheap rocket stoves. We plan to impact 30 families in the map, as you can see in the slide, and then expanding to the rest of Mulchi Valley. Our metrics for success for this project include integration and health. In integration, we plan to check whether it's a smooth substitute for chulas in villages, which we'll check by field visits. And for health, whether villages face noticeable differences in their health, checked by collaborating with a local hospital in Pod. Now, on to sustainability. If provided with the Young Aurora funding, we plan to ensure financial sustainability with a budget plan so that the Young Aurora resources last for a considerable amount of time, as well as the usage of human resources in form of current and future members of our service class. We also plan to ensure a lower carbon footprint when outreaching villages by using bicycles, which are mutual resources, and also government buses, which are public resources. Additionally, we plan to encourage the use of fallen wood for cook stove fuel so that villagers do not have to chop down trees for cook stove fuel. Thank you. Have a good day.
This is such an important project. It's touching on many, many important topics, of course, and nothing is as important as our health. So thank you for all the work that you're doing. I see some hands up already, so I will go very quickly to our panelists to get some questions. Jury, I'll begin with Marina, and I'll take other hands as they come up.
Thank you. Well done. It's a wonderful project. I have several questions, actually. First, did you design the rocket stove? What material will it be done with? And also, you give some figures about how it reduces drastically emissions. Where those figures are coming from? What kind of research did you do in this regard?
Thank you very much. Let's go to Basma.
Yes, thank you. What a great work and project. You answered some of my questions in your presentation. I think one have left for me is how does this project connect with your own personal story and motivation?
Fantastic. Let's go very quickly then to our students at UWC. Mahindra, you have just about a minute and a half, so let's go rapid fire. How did you design this project? What material are you using? And how have you conducted your research that's got you towards your numbers? And importantly, the final question, what's the connection to you personally? Let's go for it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So about the material, we chose steel because we looked at different materials, namely iron, copper, zinc, and some others I can't recall right now. Iron and steel were our better contenders. They both had accessible prices. They both had good withstanding of heat. The difference is steel is cheaper, easier to use in welding, and also more practical for transportation due to its lower density. And also replying to the personal thing, I actually was I went to one of these village Kubavali one time on a walk, and I remember going into a household and they invited us over. And they start cooking with their chulha, and at some point they light up the chulha with plastic. And I remember seeing this and thinking, I can't just let this happen. And so I saw the opportunity for the Aurora project, and I tried to make a little change with what I could. Thank you.
And talking about the statistics, of course, when it comes to a project as important and as critical as ours, we felt it was really necessary to do a lot of preliminary research, like just figuring out what is the current stance of like clean cooking solutions across the world. So we looked at a lot of research papers in communities from Africa, Asia. Also, a lot of the research was based on like Indian communities as well. And we specifically looked at whether these different designs, how can they impact, say, health outcomes in a supervised trial sort of. So all of that research kind of like gave us an idea on how we want to implement this in the local community first. And then depending on how the outcomes work out, we plan to envision this as a larger project that can not just impact the local community that we are in, but say different regional communities across India and across the world.
Was there any question we left out?
Anyone able to speak to just your personal connection to the project?
Can I speak?
Yes.
Okay, so as a feminist, it's really important to me and really interesting for me to research different conditions and struggles of women around the world. And this project specifically touched me because, as I said, it specifically most affects women. Because in rural India, women are the ones who stay in the house for hours cooking for the whole family, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's just they are the ones who spend so much time around the chula. They're the ones getting lung problems, getting eye problems. And it's just so important to make the woman's life easier. Of course, it will not be easy to switch up, but I think that it's just so important to at least make their lives easier in some way.
Also, to add on to the design inspiration part, we really looked at a lot of different designs for how a stove can be. But the reason why we stuck to rocket stove was specifically because of the J-shaped chamber that you saw. Because our main aim was to reduce the amount of smog that is emitted by these cook stoves. And since this J-shape has a complete combustion that takes place, that's why, because of that, instead of smog coming out of the stove, a lot of that is used in, say, better fuel efficiency as well. So that's one of the reasons why we went with rocket stoves. And it's already used in camping in like other communities, but it was not widely implemented in India. So that is why we chose this.
Also, one last point, just like 10 seconds. So basically, I am Indian and I live in India, and that's how I was also exposed to the widespread use of chulas, not just before coming to Muki. And I've seen this all around, and I have seen people, even before me coming to Muki, talk about how detrimental the use of chulas is, and that is how I've always had like a special spot for sort of trying to alleviate some of the problems that these women, particularly in rural India, have. And that is when I saw the Young Aurora initiative, and I thought this was the best opportunity for us to implement this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Just one point of clarification for the jury on the point of, did you design this? It sounds like you've taken inspiration from something that does exist, but could you clarify, just a couple of seconds, is this an original design that you have come up with, or are you adapting a solution that already exists?
We are adapting a solution that already exists. We did not design the J-shaped rocket stove. Sorry for making that unclear.
No, not at all. Thank you so much. And congratulations once again to your team for all the work that you have done. And I'm going to wish our jury all the best with what comes next in trying to come to some kind of conclusion. So members of our jury, thank you so much for paying attention to these, asking very important questions. We're going to release you now for what I expect will be a challenging discussion and deliberation. You have 3 outstanding finalist teams, and I don't envy your task of selecting just one winner, because all of these projects, each of them is truly deserving in its own right. So I'll release the jury now, and we'll see you back in a few minutes. All right, as the jury excuses themselves very, very briefly, we have the chance to turn to the second highlight of today's program. We're gearing up for a very energizing conversation on youth as change makers, how to drive social change. And we've assembled an extraordinary group of thinkers, doers, and visionaries who are reshaping communities worldwide. We have just a few minutes to go through, and I hope that you are excited as this for this as I am. We're only going to scratch the surface of this very important topic, but with your active participation, with your questions, your comments, and your ideas in the chat, I'm sure we can make this a very dynamic and impactful exchange. So whether you're in the virtual room or if you're watching online, please join us in having this conversation. Let me quickly introduce our 4 speakers. We're joined by Diego Angemi, who is Chief of Social Policy at UNICEF. We're joined by Ram Al-Mahmoud, who is a Young Aurora winner from 2023 and founding member of the Kombili Project at UWC Diligence. Good to see you. We're joined by Shad Begum, who's an Aurora Prize expert panel member, founder and executive director of the nonprofit Association for Behavior and Knowledge Transformation. And last but by no means least, we're joined by Mahinur El Masri, who's the 2022 Aurora Humanitarian, a lawyer and a political activist from Egypt. Thank you all so much for coming to have this conversation with us, and thank you for all the important work that you do in the world. Diego, may I start with you? I know the work that you do is incredibly important, as is the work of UNICEF as a whole. If I may, in what ways can we properly involve young people in decision-making processes, and what is the role of schools, institutions of education in supporting the development of young change makers? And, if I may sneak one else in, how can we use social media and technology to really empower youth activism today? So over to you, Diego.
Thank you so much, Faith. And first of all, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here and a big fan of the Young Aurora program. Youth participation is a topic of extraordinary importance. I will take you on a journey of my own personal experience. I have spent the last 22 years, plus or minus, living in East Africa. And a lot of my work, as I explain it to my children, is to play with numbers and to write about it. So I do a lot of work with the Bureau of Statistics, the Ministry of Finance, to try and understand the dynamics that are impacting economic and social development on the continent, in particular in East Africa. And then we use that analysis to try and inform some of the decisions we make in terms of national planning and budgeting allocations. Now, the continent is at a junction, a historic one. Over 50% of the continent, over 50% of the population in East Africa is below the age of 18. What we are seeing is a demographic transition that is happening on the African continent a few years later, many other continents around the world. Europe, North America, South America have already gone through this process. Now, what this means is that over the next 30 to 40 years, Africa will experience the largest transition of children entering the labor force. What this means is that this is a historic moment in time when nations, regions, and continents become most productive from an economic perspective. But let's pause for a minute and reflect, what does this mean in the absence of effective inclusion, effective participation? As we speak in Uganda, for every 10 students who enter primary school, only one graduates from secondary school. Now, what does this mean for the future of a country that is about to experience the greatest exodus of children from being dependents to being the bearers of economic responsibility in a particular country? There is so much talk about job creation, there is so much talk about economic integration, and there is so much talk about economic growth. But who is going to take these jobs? Who is going to carry the future, the economic future of a country when, let me remind you of the numbers, 1 in every 10 children who enters primary education graduates for secondary education. And a very small proportion of those who graduate from secondary school make it onto tertiary education. Now, we've seen it time and time again, that the role of education in transforming the social and economic DNA of any country at any particular point in history is of paramount importance. So what are we going to do about it? What are we doing about it? A couple of years ago, I would say maybe less than a decade ago, donors, engaged stakeholders started thinking about education a little differently, and maybe started challenging some of the mantra around the education agenda on the African continent. Education in Africa is extremely valued, is extremely valuable, but it's also very traditionally perceived. You go to school, you graduate from school. We know from lots of lots of countries around the world in the global north, many European countries, especially the northern countries, many other countries across the globe, there are different approaches to education. There are approaches that not necessarily require you to go to school and graduate from school. There is vocational training. There is youth engagement through a whole wide range of economic activity. And most recently, we've started experimenting with the value of education through completely unknown channels, like social media, like technology-based education approaches. A lot of these attempts have planted seeds in different pockets of the continent, but unfortunately, they remain seeds. As much as I am optimistic about the future, the harsh reality is that we, to date, have not been incredibly successful into watering those seeds and seeing flowers blossom out of them. And without taking too much time from the other speakers, I just want to leave you with a little anecdote, because amongst this great development, among this great transformation and rejuvenation of the education discourse on the continent, we also face great tragedies. And the great tragedies rest in very sort of colonial approaches to instilling education and instilling skills development on the continent. To this day, we still see monumental amounts of resources from very well-known organizations who are focused on building skills on the youth by way of teaching them how to make soap or to weave baskets. And the question we have to ask ourselves, is this really the best way of fostering, economic participation on the African continent? Do we want the future of these countries to rest on basket weavers and soap makers, when we could be sitting on the next astronaut, the next most brilliant engineer, the next most brilliant chemist or biologist who will help us get through the health crisis that we've all experienced in some shape or form over the last decade. So the question, the thought I want to leave you with is economic participation is not really an option, it's a must. Because as I said to begin with, over 50% of the population in East Africa right now is below the age of 18. And they will be responsible for the next 40, 50, 100 years of development. Who do we want these children to be? Soap makers and basket weavers? Or can we be more creative and really try to fish out the incredible talent that we are presented with? Because remember, talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. It sounds cliche, you've all heard it before, but it's the truth, and especially on a continent where 58% of the population is below the age of 18. And let me stop there for now, Faith.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Diego. I'm sure that this idea is obviously resonating in other parts of the world as well. And I think perhaps it's a great place to bring in Shad, who, again, your story is fascinating. You're the first, educated person from your family, and now you're doing so much in the community. And I think because you've got this kind of community-based approach, it's important to hear from you. How can local communities better engage young people from the work you've done in Pakistan? How can we engage young people better in identifying and addressing the needs that are around them? And what is the role, again, of established organizations? Diego's talked here about potentially these big organizations that can fund projects going too low. What is the right way to engage young people to better support the work of young activists, people like yourself? So, Shad, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you so much, Faith, for my introduction. And thanks to Aurora for doing amazing things. And today's, just listening to these three presentations was an absolute honor and very inspiring. That, and there is a hope lies in listening to these youth that despite many challenges, they're not giving up. Rather, they're bringing up such brilliant ideas, and they have this motivation to move on. So to make this more effective, of course, based on my experience for the last 24 years working on the ground with youth, especially the young women, and even with minority youth from the minority, from the religious minorities, and from other groups like refugees and internally displaced persons. So with a diverse group of youth working, I would come up with a few suggestions that how we can make sure that the youth are better engaged and productively engaged. So first of all, what I would say, that we need to put the young people on the driving seat. We should not speak for them. They have the capability to speak for themselves, and to understand their challenges and come up with the policies and the recommendations. So we need to have them in the councils, in the advisory boards, in the policy panels. We should not speak on behalf of them. They need to come up and they need to speak for themselves. And the other thing is, okay, sometime it depends, that because Diago, it was just brilliant. I can resonate with whatever you said about Africa. I can resonate with the same education system in Pakistan. So if youth is somewhere lacking the skills or the knowledge somehow to address the challenges, here comes the roles to equip them and empower them, and not only to tell them that you are the future. We need to invest in their leadership skills, advocacy training, and problem solving abilities. That's how we can truly make them become able to contribute and make this world a more livable and a better place for all of us to live in. And then another thing I would say would be that support youth-led solutions. Yes, we need to invest more on youth and telling them, come forward, take the lead, and bring your ideas to the table. And we need to invest in these ideas. We need to contribute resources, and financial resources, technical resources, and the networking and the alliance building and all these things, so that they can lead and we can just facilitate them. Like, we should not lead, they should lead, and we should facilitate them. And in this, I would say, yes, community engagement, digital activism, and local development projects, like locally community-led projects, brought together by the youth. These are the things we need to emphasize on. And yes, one of the important key thing which is actually emerging nowadays more, I would say prominently, that is the generational gap. Frequently we hear that you don't respect tradition, and elders don't, but some, we say that elders don't understand change, right? So this intergenerational dialogue is very much necessary among the youth and among the elder generation. So we can actually create a mutual understanding and allow traditional wisdom and modern ideas to come together for real solutions, because that will be a real asset to invest in. And then, we need to create safe and inclusive spaces. Around us, there are people from minorities, there are refugees, there are people who are doing migration, there are communities who are internally displaced. So we need to actually give opportunity to everyone to come forward. We should not leave anyone behind, from the development process. And we need to actually create safe environment. When I would say safe environment, in terms of speaking about the girls, there are situations where girls do not mostly feel safe. So we need to create safe and inclusive spaces for the youth to come forward, bring ideas, feel like they belong, and feel confident, and they can present and they can lead. And even, yes, they can fail. Yeah, we should not actually overburden all the time the youth that whatever idea you bring that you must succeed. No, they can fail. They can just try again. They can just try again, because in my 24 years of experience, I was not succeeded all the time. I have failed many times, but not giving up is, giving up is not an option. We should just create that kind of resilience among the youth. And in terms of, a kind of, you just say that the organizations. So yes, there are many organizations. Instead of considering the youth as a beneficiary, we need to just consider them as a stakeholder. We need to bring them to the table. And the idea of having separate organization, we have this terminology in the world right now, more women-led organization, youth-led organization. Why we should not have inclusive organization where we would have representation from all the groups? Because all these groups represent their communities, their groups. So when they will come together, so they will better utilize the available resources. Because one of the difficulty among the most of these not-for-profit organizations or even youth-led organizations, women-led organizations, is that lack of resources. And with the passage of time, because the world is seeing more natural disasters, so it's difficult. The aid is not going everywhere which it needs to go. So that's why all the forums should be comprised of the leadership from all these groups, like youth, women, minorities, and men and women, and all these groups. And together they need to work on inclusive ideas to invest. I would say, the better resource mobilization is also need to learn. This is actually the need of the era. So this is, I'll just conclude here, and I would say, yes, looking forward to the other questions and the panelist responses. Thank you.
Absolutely important. Thank you so much for that. And I like what you said about, we shouldn't speak on behalf of the youth. Let them speak for themselves. So let's practice that. We got one of them on the call right now, Ram. I remember 2 years ago when you were in the shoes of the teams from the various colleges, and one of the questions of the jury asked to you was, how will you sustain your project after you graduate? How will you keep it going? So I get the chance to ask you 2 years later, how have you sustained your project? What is the state of the Kombili project that won Young Aurora 2 years ago? How is your team staying organized? How are you focused on the goals? What's next for you with this project? Would you like to share what has been going on with Kombili?
Thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure for us to talk about Kombili, and I really wish all the best for the innovative projects and the teams here today. So yeah, for Kombili, it's been going and we're going strong. We did have, of course, some problems, but we always had solutions and we were able to overcome them. So for Kombili, a very important step that we've made early on was having the kombili.org website, where we have the three main elements of our project, which are the eco-education, the community gardens, and composting technology. It's basically having three different elements in one website, which are the three different elements that make Kombili. Where people can see the three different elements, they can dive into each of them. For example, they can go into the composting technology. They can see the models we've done, the ones we developed, we made with our hands in the workshop. We were always going throughout this process with the three elements, developing them parallelly. And yeah, so they can see how the temper is going, how they can make it themselves. And that goes similarly for the community garden. They see our examples in Dilijan, Yerevan, and for the educational curriculum, where they can basically implement it throughout their environment, for example, in the schools or in the community. So Kombili has been going well, as I said, and lately, there was an action week for us, and the team went to 8 different schools in Armenia, and we were focusing on the educational aspect. We gave 2-hour sessions in each school, and we engaged with 150 students, and it was interactive sessions about recycling, about waste management, the environment. About the environment in Armenia specifically as well. There are 2 products that we were able to develop in Kombili, and I'm really proud of that, the work of our team. And they are products that help make our ideas into something that we can sense, we can touch, and we can learn from. So basically, the first product was a board game that's like Monopoly. There's the board game Monopoly, something similar. There's a root, and there are cards, question cards, and then the players would be asking each other these questions, which is mostly environmental, educational, of course. And then it goes throughout the game. I will not explain the game right now, but there is a game basically, and we wanted to. So the game is basically to be implemented in schools, in communities. It's for the young youth mainly. So we target the young youth with it. And then there's the second product, which was a compost box. but with a glass side, see-through. So the people can see how composting, how the process goes on, how the banana peels can be transformed into fertile soil that can later be used into planting their community gardens. So yeah. So one of the really important things we were able to do was getting this sensible product and share it with others, so we can actually deliver our message in a productive and effective way. We were also working on campaigns, social media campaigns online. So we have our educational environmental posters we post on our Instagram page, and lately we've done an art competition where the participants they collected recyclable materials, basically waste or trash that can be recyclable, and then they made art pieces with them. And we had the winner, and we of course announced it on our social media page. So basically, we are using different technological aspects like social media or like the website to spread our idea. We are getting our thoughts, our goals shared with others. We have the open invitations. We've always had it since the beginning of Young Aurora till now. We have the open invitation for everyone to participate in taking action and making our planet better, taking care of the environment, right? Yes. So basically, so you asked also of what we expect from the youth to how we expect.
Let me actually tie it in very quickly with, of course, the
Yes.
thread of what the other two speakers have spoken about. What is the best way for people to support you, to get involved with the project that you're taking, especially young people? What is the best way for people to get involved with this?
Yes. So basically, the simple answer is basically people should start to develop the habit of separating their household waste, the trash, basically, and spreading this habit and this knowledge among their friends, their families, and not only separating trash, but all the environmental habits. It goes from gardening to keeping the streets clean, not throwing trash, and using the right recycle bins for the right trash. So that's one, of course. Second thing, what we have, as I already mentioned, an open invitation. Our website is basically the open invitation, is the invitation letter for everyone. And for the youth, there is this website that has the whole model, has the whole guideline for everyone to be able to implement their Kombeli garden in their country, in their city, in their neighborhood. So what we want from the youth around the world is to join forces with us, and that's what we're working on, to build Kombeli gardens around the world and take care of the environment and around the world, and that will benefit. And we have three benefits from that, of course, which is the education for the children, and it's not only environmental education, but it's also building a good community for the children. It's also making the community and the urban area looks good, because there will be green spots, which are the green pilot gardens or the small gardens of Kombeli. Yes, and basically giving back to the environment that always gives us and our planet by keeping it healthy. So yes, that's how we expect people to participate and to join forces with us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We've left a very important conversation for just about now, because when we think about the role that young people with a conscience can play in helping to make a difference locally, I think few people can match what Mahinor has expressed in Egypt. So Mahinor, I'm very pleased to come to you now, and I hope people have a sense of the work that you have done and the ways in which you have personally sacrificed to help to make a better world in where you've come from. But if you haven't, I'll challenge you to go Google Mahinor and get a better sense of her work. But you've been dubbed a prisoner of conscience for the work that you've done in protesting and drawing public attention towards injustices in Egypt. So my question to you is, from your personal experience, what is perhaps a highlight of the power of youth-led movements? What are the challenges that young women face in particular, and how have you overcome these obstacles, and what's your encouragement for the people who might want to follow in your footsteps of making a difference locally?
Okay, thank you, Faith, for this introduction, and thank you all for this very interesting conversation. I actually want to thank the Young Aurora finalists, who actually now are drawing more hope in a very dark times in this world. Well, now I'm no longer a younger person, but a decade ago, 15 years ago, when the Egyptian revolution started, it was named a youth revolution. The thing about change and youth is that they are all the time linked together. I'm from a country where youth were underrepresented. We were all the time silent by authoritarian regime, not only youth, but all the people, but youth especially. We have this kind of double standards because we are young in age and also under an authoritarian regime. But the thing is that with youth-led movements that I think started in 2005 with the Youth for Change movement in Egypt, it was a kind of fresh ideas coming to the front lines of politics, following a stagnation that happened for more than 50 years in Egypt. This fresh eye and feeling the opportunity that we can, like with each other, work together, made us less fearful and more hopeful. And I think this is one of the key points of youth-led movements, is that hope is at its peak because you don't have all the burden of legacy of not succeeding, for example, or being in charge of something. So it all was a fresh start to all of us. The second thing was that we were more capable of moving around around Egypt. Egypt is a very centralized country, but I'm not from the capital, thanks God. But it was easier for us as youth to move around the country and to be more engaged with the problems of the people, whether it was like political cases, whether it was like housing cases, or even for fishermen or peasants or whatsoever. And so we had this as well. I think one of the things that we actually took advantage of is that the idea of the social media as well. At that time, like older generation were not that active on social media. So they were repressed easily by the regime. It was easier for us to organize more on social media. But the thing I want to say the most is that when you're younger, you're usually not very full of yourself. You feel that there's no individual salvation. All the time you believe more on the idea of the group work. And I think this is why I feel fascinated by the work of the three finalists, and I think the others who were not as lucky as the three finalists to show their work. Because one of the things is that leadership doesn't mean substitution. We are not substituting people. I myself don't like the word leadership as because it has like a bad connotation in at least in my country. But I wanted to say more that I believe more on the idea of the collective work, and I think what is great about what all you're doing is that you're not substituting yourselves from the people. You're trying to give tools to the people to help themselves and to wider the range of working and to help themselves. The last thing is that I wanted to say about like being a woman and of course, being a woman in a conservative society, it has like many it has pros and cons actually. The cons is that you usually are looked as if you don't have to deal with that, you don't have to deal with that, and you're all the time framed in a place. But the cons is the idea of the intersectionality, is that we as women actually have more intersectionality in different causes that makes it easier for us also to move in many cases. And sometimes we can be a kind of a motivation for others, especially in conservative society, that if women are involved in this, why we, as for example, as men, why shouldn't we be more involved? So my last word is that I believe what Aurora is doing and what the finalists are doing and what Diego, Shad, and Ram had been saying is that there's always hope, even in the hardest times. Like I'm living in a region where there's a genocidal war on one side. We have like also what's happening in Sudan on the other, like from Palestine and Sudan, and what's happening in Egypt. But on the other hand, I believe that having hope and working together, that would like create a change for a more peaceful future. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And let me thank all of our panelists as well. You know, I would have come back around for a second round, but in the absence of that, what I would have loved to hear from you is just one word that captures how you feel about the role that young people can play in shaping a better future. So I'll lead with my word, and I'll invite you all to just give me one word that captures how you believe that young people can help shape a better future. My word is possibilities. Yeah, just because it captures that there's so much that can be done by young people across the world in shaping a better future. I'm going to come around to Ram and then Diego and then Shad, and I'm going to come back to you to give me just one word that captures how you believe young people can make a difference in the future. Ram, what's your word?
Like me, like others, when we see action is taking place, when we see people like us, similar to us, taking action, we see them doing the change, we see them doing what we want to do, and something we want to do in different areas and different spheres. It is contagious. It comes to us, it transfers to others, and that transfers action everywhere. Yes.
Love it. Contagious action. Thank you very much. Diego, what's your word?
I beg us to be creative. So creativity, we just keep trying to solve the same problems we faced for the last half a century with the same solutions. We just need to get creative.
Love it. Creative. Shad, what's your word?
Okay, so one of my actually suggestion would be that nothing is small and nothing is big. You know, taking action is necessary. Like, you know, most of the youth, most of the time they undermine themselves. They say they cannot actually do big things. So no, just start what you can do. And, you know, even don't wait for the funding, don't wait for the big grants and nothing. Just do whatever you want. Things will come to you. You will attract everything you need for the change you want to bring in the world. Yeah.
Brilliant. Love it. Believe in yourself. Go for it. Don't wait for the funding. Just do it. Love it. Mahinur, what's your word?
I think broad horizon and breaking the walls. Like you have fresh start and you have new ideas. You have all the world in front of you. I think you're going to make it, and it will be great. Thank you.
Fabulous. I'm sure that our teams waiting for this final answer are taking all of this to account. And for every young person out there, I'm sure this has been very useful as well. Let me thank each of our four incredible speakers. You've shown us that change making is not just about age, it's about courage, it's about creativity, it's about belief, it's about taking action, just refusing to accept that this is just the way things are, nothing is going to change. So to everyone watching, let's turn these ideas into action. I hope you share what has inspired you today. You tag a young change maker who needs to hear this. And remember that the future is not just something that we enter, it's something that we build. So thank you very much to all of our finalists and to our panelists for that. I'm aware that our jury has now rejoined us. So we are very excited to hear the final results from our jury. Let me invite Marina on behalf of the jury to deliver the good news. Marina?
Yeah, thanks a lot. So first of all the jury members were really honored to take part in this session. Everybody was really impressed by all three projects, and it was really difficult to make a decision. All three projects had votes. So there was no unanimity at the beginning, so we had to discuss quite a lot. And we finally decided that the Chula project would be awarded the prize. So congratulations. I'm sorry for the others, but we thought that the Chula project really holds a big potential. First of all, it's really community-centered. You really took into account the tradition of the community you want to work with. You went there to take to have their advice, etc. And also, we think that this project really addresses several issues at the same time. There's the health of the women who cook, but there's also the carbon emissions, deforestation, and the fact that they can cook for a cheaper price makes the adoption of the project very likely. And also, another point is that the project is replicable, and there are many, many regions in the world who face the same issue with slightly different stoves, but it's about cutting wood and then burning wood, affecting the health of so many women around the world and their children. So, yeah, as I said, the fact that it would help women also played a role in the decision. Because women cook, they're also the ones who go and collect the wood very often. And when they go collect the wood, they sometimes face dangerous situations. I don't know if it's the case in your region in India, but in other regions, for example, in Africa, it definitely is the case. So for all those reasons, we wanted to the Chula project to win this award. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for delivering that great news, and many congratulations to the team at UWC Mahindra College, and congratulations to our teams at UWC Adriatic and UWC Diligent. Thank you for the work that you have been doing. I think we're all very encouraged to hear and to see the ways in which you've all taken the initiative. You've started even without the funding, and guess what? The funding does come. So it's very important that you stay true to the projects that you have designed, stay focused, continue to seek opportunities, and many, many good things are going to come your way as well. Most importantly, you are learning a lot on this journey of change making. So please take up all the learning that you're being fed through processes like this. Stay committed, invite more people to be a part of what you have begun, and the sky is the limit. There's so much more that we can do. So congratulations to all three teams for getting this far, and I wish you all the best for the next phase of your work as well. I look forward to hearing how your projects evolve. As we close today, I'd like to remind you all that every great movement begins with a simple truth. Changemakers are not born, they're built. They're built through conversations like this. They're built by communities that lift each other up, and they're built by young people who dare to say, it doesn't have to be this way. Today, we've seen proof that our burdens can be lightened when we share them, and our impact can be multiplied when we unite. These are not just ideals, these are the blueprints for action. Once again, to our speakers, our participants, our finalists, our jury, to everyone watching, you've reminded us that the future is not a distant horizon. It is exactly what we create today. So keep challenging, keep collaborating, and most importantly, Keep being the change. The world needs your courage now more than ever. So until next year, stay bold. And from me, from everyone else at UWS International, congratulations and thank you once again for joining us.